All right, let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries of the internet, virality. What actually makes something go viral? You know, it's not just random luck. Turns out there's some real science, neuroscience and psychology, that can give us a kind of formula for what makes us all click that share button. So let's dive in and crack this code.
I mean, you've seen it happen, right? It's the thing that keeps creators and marketers up at night. You find this incredible video or a hilarious meme. You're positive it's going to be huge. And then, nothing. It just dies. But at the same time, some grainy video of a cat falling off a chair gets 1 billion views. So what is going on here?
And seriously, this isn't just about getting famous online. For businesses, for charities, for pretty much anyone trying to get a message out, understanding virality can be the make or break difference. If you get it right, you reach millions of people for basically free. But if you get it wrong, you're just shouting into the void. Okay, so the most obvious thing to do seems pretty simple, doesn't it? If you want to know if people will share your stuff, you just ask them, hey, would you share this? People have been doing this in focus groups and surveys for decades. It feels right, it's direct, but there's a massive, massive problem with this whole approach.
And here it is, this is the heart of the problem. It's this classic idea from psychology that's truer than ever today. There's a huge gap between what we say we're going to do and what we actually do. We might just say what we think sounds smart, or maybe we don't even really know why we share things. Our intentions, they're just not reliable. So if we can't trust what people tell us, where do we even begin to look for the real answer?
Well, we have to go deeper. We have to go straight to the source. A really fascinating study from 2020 decided to just bypass our conscious minds altogether and look directly at the brain's automatic reactions. They called it the brain as predictor approach.
So the researchers figured that when we're thinking about sharing something, our brain is basically running 3 different programs in the background. They called them value-related processing, self-related processing, and social-related processing. You can think of them as the 3 main suspects in our little investigation. So first up, you've got the value network. This is just that simple gut-level reaction. Is this cool? Is this useful? Do I just like it? It's basically your brain's reward system lighting up and saying, ooh, I enjoyed that.
Then there's suspect number 2, the self-network. Now this one is all about our ego, our identity. It's asking, does sharing this make me look smart or funny or like I'm in the loop? It's all about our personal brand, how we present ourselves to the world.
And finally, we get to the social network. This is like our brain's own little internal publicist. This part isn't about us, it's about them. It's the part of our brain that's always trying to read the room, to guess what other people are thinking and feeling. It's asking, will my friends think this is cool? Will this start a good conversation? How is everyone else going to react?
So, to figure out which of these suspects was the real driver, the researchers put people inside an fMRI scanner, a brain scanner. They showed them real Facebook video ads and just watched to see what happened inside their heads. They could literally see in real time which of those 3 networks, value, self, or social, was firing up the most.
Then they took all that brain data and compared it to how many times those exact ads were actually shared in the real world on Facebook. They had their suspects, they had the evidence. So, which part of the brain was the key? And the results were just incredibly clear. Asking people what they'd share? Nope, terrible predictor. The brain's value network, the part that says, I like this. Also a weak predictor. And what about the self-related network? How this makes me look? Still weak. In the end, only one of our suspects was left standing.
Yeah, the data was just undeniable. The study found a strong, positive connection between real-world shares and only one thing: activity in that social-related brain network. The secret key to predicting virality wasn't about what we enjoy, but about what we think other people will enjoy.
And what's so cool here is you can see the proof with your own eyes. On the left, that messy scatter plot, that's the predictions based on what people said they'd share. It's completely random, totally useless. But look at the chart on the right. That's from the social brain activity. You can see a clear upward trend. It's not perfect, but it's a real, actual predictive pattern.
But here's the interesting twist at the end. While the social brain was by far the best single predictor, the absolute most accurate forecast they could get was by combining the brain scans with the old-school self-reports. So our brains hold the secret, but what we say out loud still adds a little bit of useful information to the mix.
Okay, so we've cracked a huge piece of the puzzle. The big impulse to share isn't really about me, it's about you. It's about how you'll react. But, that just leads to the next big question, right? What is it about a piece of content that actually flips that social switch in our brain?
Well, this is where another big study comes in. Researchers Jonah Berger and Catherine Milkman analyzed the most emailed articles from the New York Times to find the secret emotional ingredients of viral content.
And what they found was fascinating. It turns out virality isn't really about positive emotions versus negative ones. The real key is something called physiological arousal, which is just a fancy way of saying how much an emotion jazzes you up and gets you going. Content that triggers high arousal emotions, the kind that literally gets your heart pumping, gets shared. Content that brings on low arousal, calming emotions, it just doesn't.
So think about it like this. Emotions that get us fired up are the fuel for sharing. Awe, that feeling of wonder, is a huge driver. But so are anger and anxiety. They all make us want to do something, and one of the easiest things to do is hit that share button. But notice what's missing. Sadness. That's a low arousal emotion. It makes us want to be quiet and turn inward, not broadcast our feelings outward.
Okay, so now we have the two critical pieces of our puzzle. We've got the brain mechanism, and we've got the emotional trigger. So let's put them together and look at the final formula.
It really boils down to a two-step process. First, the content has to have the right kind of emotional fuel. It's got to spark a high-energy emotion, like awe or excitement or anger or anxiety. That creates the initial jolt, the impulse. Then second, that energy has to get pointed through the social brain. The content has to make you immediately think, oh man, my friends have got to see this.
The best way to think about it is like this. The high arousal emotion is the gas pedal. It gives you that raw power, that urge to go. But the social brain, that's the steering wheel. It gives you the direction and the purpose, and it turns that vague feeling into the very specific action of sharing it with other people. You've got to have both.
And all of this leaves us with one last, kind of powerful question. We now have the emotional triggers. We know the exact brain network to target. Does this mean we finally, truly cracked the code? And if virality really can be engineered over and over again, what does that mean for the stuff we see, the things we share, and the ideas we come to believe every single